a park where 6 people died before anyone pulled the plug, and a woman who drowned, strapped into her seat in 3 feet of water. The footage does not lie, and neither does the paper trail. Number 1. On a Kansas summer day, the air at Schlitterbahn Waterpark shimmered above a towering, twisting silhouette, Verrückt. At 168 feet, the slide loomed over the prairie, its 264 metal stairs promising the world's most extreme descent. Riders braced themselves for a 70 miles per hour plunge, marketed as insane, engineered to thrill. But beneath the spectacle, a paper trail told a different story. 1 week before opening, an engineering firm delivered a warning letter. The raft-to-ramp impact forces, it said, exceeded all safety margins. The current restraint system, they wrote, could not guarantee that a raft would stay in the trough. Park management refused to alter the design, determined to meet the deadline and claim the world record. Sandbag tests captured on video showed what would happen next. As the weighted rafts hit the mid-course ramp, they launched skyward, tumbling free of the slide's walls. The footage, later broadcast in news segments, showed bags hurtling several feet into the air, a phenomenon the engineers called uncontrolled projectile motion. Still, the slide opened. The state's self-inspection loophole allowed the park to clear its own ride, with no independent engineer signing off on the final design. Within weeks, the maintenance logs recorded injuries, torn netting, lacerated hands, riders scraping concrete. 13 separate incidents were documented before the fatal run. On September 13, 2014, 10-year-old Caleb Schwab climbed the stairs with 3 friends. When their raft struck the ramp, the net failed. The raft vaulted upward, and Caleb's head struck a metal support. 2 adult women behind him survived with severe facial injuries. The ride closed that day. An Esquire lifeguard later recalled, "The raft literally flew off the ramp like a projectile." Criminal charges followed, including second-degree murder, aggravated assault, and reckless endangerment, naming the owner, the lead designer, and the construction firm. But a judge dismissed the indictments, leaving the legal system to grapple with the meaning of gross negligence. The Schwab family settled for millions, and Kansas lawmakers rewrote the rules, banning self-inspection and requiring annual third-party reviews for all major rides. By 2018, Verrückt was gone, dismantled piece by piece. A thrill ride built on ignored warnings, a child's life lost exactly as the engineers predicted. When the paper trail is this clear, how does a ride like this ever get approved? In the end, the world's tallest slide became a monument, not to innovation, but to the cost of looking away. In second place, the sound of laughter at Action Park masked the thud of bodies hitting concrete and the splash of panicked swimmers in water too deep to stand. The air smelled of chlorine and fried food, but beneath the surface ran a current of danger that was anything but accidental. Over 18 years, 6 people died here. A teenager thrown from the alpine slide struck his head on a rock and never woke up. 3 young men drowned in the tidal wave pool, a churning basin so infamous it became known as the graveyard pool. An adult was electrocuted on the kayak experience after stepping onto a live wire. Another collapsed from a heart attack after plunging into the Tarzan swing's ice-cold spring. Each death was recorded, but the public tally barely scratched the surface of what went wrong. Action Park's owner, Gene Mulvihill, built a business model around risk and bravado. He paid teenagers $100 in cash to test the Cannonball Loop, a vertical water slide so poorly engineered that crash test dummies emerged decapitated, and padding inside the loop was said to retain riders' teeth. Employees described a workplace where injuries were ignored and staff were quietly told not to log every broken nose or fractured bone. In a single year, the park recorded over 100 documented injuries, but the true number was likely far higher. Lawsuits piled up, but the park stayed open, fighting claims in court and settling cases out of the public eye. Regulators failed to intervene, and the rides kept running. The culture at Action Park did not just tolerate danger, it monetized it. The thrill was the selling point, and the illusion of control was paper thin. By the time the park closed in 1996, more than 100 lawsuits had been filed and the owners declared bankruptcy. Still, the legacy endures, a place where warnings were not just ignored but actively suppressed, and where the cost of a ticket included the chance that no one would come when you needed help. How does an entire park escape the scrutiny that brings down a single ride? When injury becomes routine, who decides when enough is enough? The story of Action Park remains a cautionary tale, not of one tragic mistake, but of a system designed to look away. The heat pressed down on Houston as families drifted in the gentle current of a hotel's lazy river, children's laughter blending with the hum of circulating water. On March 23, 2024, 8-year-old Aaliyah Jaiko slipped beneath the surface and vanished. Her mother searched the pool, calling her name, but Aaliyah did not reappear. Hours passed. By dusk, police and recovery teams arrived, draining the pool and threading cameras through the pipes. It would take 13 hours before they found her, wedged deep inside a 12 to 16-inch suction pipe, a space large enough to swallow a child whole. The pipe that claimed Aaliyah's life was never meant to be exposed. During a recent remodel, contractors installed a high-capacity pump, rerouting the suction line through a wide PVC intake. The new system, designed for a different type of pool, created a powerful draw. The required protective cover plate, a metal grate meant to block the opening, was missing. Inspection records show that after the renovation, no city official ever signed off on the altered pump or the new suction system. The hotel's permit, filed 2 years earlier, listed only cosmetic upgrades. There was no mention of the mechanical overhaul that turned the lazy river into a hidden hazard. Federal law demands that every suction outlet larger than 8 inches be fitted with a secondary barrier. The Virginia Graham-Baker Act, passed to prevent exactly this kind of entrapment, was clear. But the intake pipe at the DoubleTree by Hilton Brook Hollow had neither a cover nor a documented inspection. Health Department records reveal multiple prior citations for exposed suction outlets and non-compliant pipe diameters. Yet the pool remained open, the violations unresolved. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission launched a federal investigation. Their preliminary findings confirmed the absence of required safety hardware, a missing inspection, and unapproved changes to the circulation system. In the words of Texas EquiSearch's Tim Miller, who led the recovery, this didn't have to happen. How does a modern hotel, flying the flag of an international brand, slip through every layer of oversight? What does a permit or a past inspection mean when the most basic protections are missing? In the end, the paperwork was in order, but the safeguards were not. The illusion of safety proved fatal, and a family's trust was met with silence at the bottom of a pipe. Number 4. The churn of water on roaring rapids masked a hidden threat beneath the surface. On March 21, 1999, the day began with sunlight flickering on the artificial river, families climbing into 12-person circular rafts for what should have been a routine thrill. As the raft carrying 28-year-old Valeria Cartwright spun toward the ride's end, it suddenly lurched, caught on an underwater weir, and flipped in just 3 feet of water. Most passengers scrambled free, but Cartwright, still strapped in, could not escape. She drowned within sight of the exit, becoming the only fatality among 10 injured riders that afternoon. The investigation traced the cause not to a dramatic collision or a storm. It was something far more mundane, a failure inside the raft itself. The ride had passed inspection that very morning, but the protocol required only a visual check. No one tested the air pressure in the raft's 12 supporting bladders. By the time the raft overturned, 5 of those bladders were deflated, robbing the vessel of its buoyancy and making it vulnerable to capsizing even in shallow water. The maintenance checklist, signed off hours before, had ticked every box but never called for hands-on verification. The illusion of safety was preserved on paper, while the underlying danger remained invisible until it was too late. In the aftermath, Six Flags settled with Cartwright's family for $4 million and sued the raft manufacturer. The park revised its protocols, instituting mandatory pressure testing and a double rope safety system for all river rapids rides. Legal filings from the case became part of a broader industry reckoning over inspection standards, as other parks with similar attractions faced their own claims. But how does a ride pass inspection in the morning and kill a rider by afternoon? When compliance is reduced to a checklist, the promise of safety can become a fatal illusion. In the end, the paperwork was flawless, but the raft was not. Across all four tragedies, one truth surfaces. Behind every fatal ride is a chain of warnings quietly broken. These are not random accidents. They are the cost of trust misplaced and oversight deferred. The illusion of safety persists, even as the next disaster waits in line. Stay vigilant.